Hello, my name is Opal Singleton, and this is a Million Kids Insider Alert. An insider alert is something that we do to keep you up to date about the latest technology, changes in the law, certain events. That's what we're going to talk about today. And we do case analysis also. If you don't normally receive these, please go to millionkids.org and sign up for Insider Alert. It's a great way to stay current. So this is the Insider Alert, and today we are going to talk about the Super Bowl and human trafficking. The Super Bowl is going to be happening this Saturday, or Sunday, excuse me, over at Tampa Bay. Looks like a great game, by the way. I've been following Tampa Bay and Kansas City. Anyway, to prepare for the Super Bowl, we always hear all of this kind of, I don't want to say hype, but at least public announcements about the Super Bowl and the connection to human trafficking. And I've been studying this for a long time, and I want to give you kind of both sides of the argument of this so that you can kind of get a feel for it. Now, they're getting ready for it in Tampa Bay. Actually, they call it Operation Interception. They have put together what we call reverse stings, where they set up undercover operations and either people think they're going to go in and have commercial sex, or they'll have the woman out there undercover, or sometimes they'll have the man. So in this, they did already a couple of reverse stings. They've arrested 71 people in Operation Interception. So you want to know who sex buyers are? Then gives you an idea right here. All kinds of people. Now, one of the things I want to share with you is that this is important to understand, that we run these operations all the time. And while this one seems to be a little bit more productive in that they've arrested 71, I'm saying we run these all the time. Let me clarify that. I am the training and outreach coordinator for the Riverside County Anti-Human Trafficking Task Force. So the task force runs them all the time. I don't do them, okay? I want to get that cleared up. But the task force will go out and set up at hotels and conduct these reverse stings. And that is what they're doing to prepare for Operation Interception, to let the people know that if you're thinking of trafficking a young person or a person out there during the Super Bowl, that you most likely will get arrested. And in many ways, it's a great opportunity to get the message out. With less than a month from the big game, our covert operations continue seeking those who are sexually exploited here in our community. To intercept individuals who are involved in sexual exploitation of others. So here's basically the quotes from these articles, and I will give you the links to these articles. I want the people to have the credit for doing all the work on these particular articles. In this case, they placed online ads offering sex for sale for money, and undercover female detectives disguising themselves as prostitutes. Those arrested range from 20 to 62. That's always interesting. There doesn't seem to be any particular ethnicity or any particular age. 8 of those arrested received human trafficking charges last year, while another 6 were arrested for the same charges in 2019. So apparently nobody learned a whole lot from these. Some of these are repeat offenders, and some of them included drug operations. Now, the Attorney General is really committed to combating human trafficking, and I think that that's very, very helpful in this case. She has put together some programs to address it, and one of them is to train Uber and Lyft and people like that. The others are to put up all kinds of advertising to bring this issue to awareness to the public. So I really want to talk about this a minute, because this is important to understand. What often will happen are that pimps from all over the United States will come to an event. They will bring the girls, they ship the girls with the idea that this is a big community gathering and a lot of opportunity for guys who want to get out there, have a couple of drinks, and think that they're going to have some illicit sex. The big problem is that these girls don't have a choice. Many people think that prostitution is a choice. In some cases it is, if you're an adult. But if you have a pimp who's taking part of your money or telling you that you have to make $1,000 tonight or you're not going to eat, or they're beating you, or they're threatening your family, that is called force, fraud, fear, and coercion. And it is, in fact, human trafficking. They are training the Uber drivers to watch for unusual behaviors. So I thought I'd take this opportunity to share that with you. Someone who's being controlled, someone who is coached, they're subdued, they're not free to interact. And this can be, a US and any of our young people. It can also be foreign nationals, girls from China, girls from Taiwan, girls from Mexico that are being brought in and put out there in these programs where they are forced to have sex based on the fact that they have a pimp or a madam or a cartel or a gang controlling them. You want to watch for bite marks and bruises and burn marks and other physical damage. Look for tattoos that are all about branding. The most common one you'll see will be a rose made out of a dollar bill, or maybe she has his name tattooed in a big way across there. Sometimes it's diamonds or a cream. Cash rules everything around me. Watch for individuals who appear to be anxious or afraid. And, you don't want to just interfere with somebody just because he's older and she's younger, but keep an eye out for that. If he's 44 and she's 14 and she's obviously not his daughter and they're handling it in a different way, or he might have two or three girls, they may be flashing some money. All of those are indicators that you might have a case. Now, 1 week before the Super Bowl, they have passed a new bill. And I thought it was a healthy bill. So, what I wanted to see and share with you is that this community is taking a what we call a collaborative, an enhanced collaborative approach to this. They're handling it legislatively, they're doing prevention and intervention, they're educating the public, they're using a reasonable approach to this kind of thing. This particular bill, Bill 523, it under the communications proposal, the proposed legislation, the communications between human trafficking victim advocate and survivors will be kept private. That's very, very important. It's very difficult for these victims to talk about what's happening and what has happened to them. Many of them are extremely traumatized. Many of them cannot say the words out loud themselves, let alone tell you what they have been going through. And the nature of human trafficking is such that the victim often doesn't recognize that they're a victim. They kind of blame themselves. And in fact, pimps and predators will put the blame on them. It'll often look like a love relationship. So she does this to get his approval. And yet, then a lot of times what you get is a violation. Survivors now can expunge the charges connected to their trafficking that were dropped or ruled not guilty. You see, what happened in the past is if they were charged, they could get it expunged. But a lot of times, if they actually were convicted, but a lot of times, if they were charged, the charge doesn't go away, the record of the arrest. They need to get that to go away because it's very hard for these girls to get a job if that's still on there. They want to protect the survivors from the trauma, from reliving that trauma. In a deposition, a lot of times to get this to go away, they had to be interviewed and give a deposition. And this way, they can be treated as victims. So I applaud them for putting this together. I'm going to leave this up here a minute in case you want to take a photo of it while I talk about this in general. I want to share with you that I have worked with the Superbowl up by Santa Clarita. And a couple, 3-4 years ago, my gosh, time passes. But anyway, it was an interesting event. What I did, I'm a person that's really against any kind of hype. Now, I do believe that it's important to use this opportunity so that we can train the public. But one of the things that I don't want is to create some sort of mass hysteria that literally hundreds of thousands of women are being shipped into Tampa and they're all going to be violated. No, I don't go that route. I want to deal with facts. when I worked with the Super Bowl back when I did, what I did in those days, it was easier because we had one site where all the sex ads were quite popular. It was called Backpage. And that Backpage is no longer up. They've been taken down. It's been replaced by about 45 different sites where they advertise for sex. Now, I would caution you, do not go on those sites because they have a lot of viruses on them. You really need good protection and like that. But at the time, I did a project, and of course, I support the task force, that the week before Super Bowl, I then began to research and record all the sex ads that were on Backpage. And there were really quite a few before the Super Bowl. And then during the week of Super Bowl, I then downloaded and recorded all the sex ads that were on there. At the time, I actually only saw about a 10% bump. Now, they had done a huge amount of activity, just the same as they have done here in Tampa Bay. And so I believe that maybe that activity made it successful because where you have this vision that hundreds of thousands of girls are being brought in, it just, if it was happening, we could not find it. It was about 10% greater. And I thought that that was interesting. Then I did it again the week after, and the numbers went kind of back to how it was before. So it wasn't that there was massive amount of girls brought in, as sometimes they like to tell you. But I also believe that what would have happened had they not prepared for it, had they not put out all these ads, if they had not notified the public that if you try to sell sex during the Super Bowl, you most likely will get arrested. So in the end, I think that their campaign was very successful because it didn't result in massive amount of people coming in. The other thing that I think is possible in this particular Super Bowl is that we have COVID-19, and there won't be the hundreds of thousands and millions of people descending on Tampa Bay the way that it would normally be because of social distancing. But I want to take this one step further for you. There was something I learned out of my experience working with the Super Bowl, that while this big event with all the hype really only showed about a 10, maybe 15% bump in the number of traffic, I did a similar project out here at Coachella at the rock festival. And there was a bump, a significant bump in these smaller events. It was about 30 to 45%. What I did is the week before Coachella, I looked at all the sex ads, the week of Coachella, and then the week after. And there was a significant increase in advertising. So then what it tells me is because all the hype is really effective in these big events, don't overlook those smaller events, okay? And Coachella by any means is not small when it normally gets to go, but don't overlook those. I also looked at the events having to do with the engineering conferences out in Palm Springs. And there was, whenever you'd see an engineering conference, there would be an increase in sex ads. So if you have a convention center where you have, professional kinds of conferences where people come to town after COVID is over, let's hope we get back to normal. But if that is there, you might want to look at it from that standpoint and realize that there are certain events that attract people so that girls, and especially, but it isn't always girls, you about 15% of it is males that we believe. So keep an eye on that. In the meantime, hats off to Tampa Bay and the Attorney General at Tampa Bay. They're using a systematic, collaborative approach, getting the message out, educating the public, using it in a healthy way to train the hospitality industry, the Ubers and Lyfts of the world, and also to train you. This is Opal Singleton. The organization is Million Kids. I so much appreciate you listening. If you want to write to me, you can at Opal, OPAL, at millionkids.org. I'll see you next time.